Hey, Planet Watchers, good evening, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Here it's very hot. Other places in the world must be very cold, for sure. So, okay, first of all, sorry for changing the date of this IMA. Well, it was for a good reason, a business trip, so I'm sure I'll be forgiven for that. Okay, so before we talk about the many questions that you submitted, let me put a scam alert. I mean, we have noticed that there is some unauthorized, which means fake Reddit channel posting as PlanetWatch and probably trying to get money from you, like reservation fees for sensors and stuff like that. So the message is very simple here. Do not trust any group or channel or online media that claims to be PlanetWatch unless you have found the link to this place on our own website. Because if it doesn't come from our own website, chances are it's fake, not legitimate, and fraudulent. Okay, so that's the first thing I wanted to tell you. Okay, having said that, let's get into the heart of the matter. As usual, we got so many questions that I'm not sure I'll be able to answer all of them, but having weekly IMA should help answering globally all your questions one after the other. So let's start from sensor related questions. So there are some questions related to Arquino. As you know, we promised to be able to deliver the first batch by the end of July. So people are asking about the exact release date and things like that. So, okay, here's the first announcement. As we promised, Arquino sales to qualifying license holders will start by the end of next week, so we'll be keeping just about right our July commitment. Okay, so we will start putting sensors for sale based on license purchase order before the end of the month. Now, why does it take a lot of time and all that? Because we want to make sure that the process is fair. So we will be checking who is trying to purchase the sensors. We'll be checking you have a license, you check the authorized email address that we contact. We will check things like this guy bought 2 licenses, so he can buy at most 2 devices. We'll make sure we comply with the waiting list that we set, and we'll try to make it as fair and as simple as possible. Okay, so it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen soon, and soon means before the end of July. Okay, so next question again on Arquinos. People are asking what happens after this August batch, because we said there would be more sensors, and so people who are interested in getting other sensors are keen to know whether buying a license now is worthwhile with respect to securing a place in the queue. Now, let me tell you the truth. This is a bit tricky. It's a bit of a tricky process because on one hand, if we sell lots of licenses, this helps us estimate sensor demand. So it's useful for us, not because you spend money, just because of that, but because it's an estimate of pre-orders in some sense. So on one hand, I could tell you, if you buy lots of licenses, we'll order lots of sensors. However, personally, I don't like the idea of people waiting too long, especially when there are uncertainties, something like related to compliance, for example. So I don't want to tell you buy a lot of licenses now, we get lots of sensors. I don't want to encourage you to buy if you're not comfortable with buying. All in all, what I can say is I believe that if demand is sustained, I believe we can procure an additional 1,000 Pinos before the end of the year. So the manufacturer has confirmed to us that they have some supply capacity in this order of magnitude. As you know, a big issue is compliance. For example, for the USA, I believe we should have an update about US compliance in August, so fairly soon. I also got asked questions about compliance in Australia and Russia. To be very honest with you, it's difficult to check compliance worldwide. We're even thinking of hiring some consulting firm about that because it's a job. I mean, compliance is a job. I mean, companies have compliance specialists, and we are already very careful about token compliance. Sensor compliance is something else. And as you know, ideally, we were trying not to sell sensors because we know that all these challenges are difficult. That's why we created a license system. However, for Arduino and other devices, we are ready to sell sensors because we think this helps overall adoption. So we're going to do it. We engage in this, but it's a bit difficult. So I cannot answer today for Australia or Russia, unfortunately, but we will work on this. Okay, next question on Arduino is related to maintenance and calibration. Again, it's a very legitimate question because I've been saying every day that we want real, trustworthy scientific data, and people who know a little bit about air quality sensors know that some of the sensing elements need some maintenance and recalibration, periodic recalibration, and this, of course, will have some cost. So the question is, when does it happen? Who will pay for that? Fair enough. Okay, the need for calibration could arise within the sensor's lifetime. This is a difficult subject because the need for calibration depends to some extent on the environment to which the sensor is exposed. So if it's very close to a very polluting plant, calibration is needed soon. If it's in a fairly healthy environment, calibration is not an issue, maybe not even in the first 2 years or even 3. So it's we are going to learn by doing on this. But what I can tell you that as we always play it fair, I believe, we won't suddenly out of the blue say, hey, unless you pay $200 tomorrow, you will not earn any more planets. So we're going to play fair, which means we will make a plan to organize calibration and maintenance of sensors. We will do our best to work out a scenario where at least a significant fraction of calibration cost is borne by us. Okay, so we'll keep you posted on this. We'll discuss this. This applies mostly to type 1 and type 3 sensors. So let's see, based on the data, what is how fast sensors degrade and need calibration, and we'll make a plan to minimize cost to you and possibly born it 100% as PlanetWatch, very 100% as a company. It's not a promise, but it's a commitment to play it fair, as I said. So there will be no bad surprises out of the blue. Okay, then there are a number of questions about what is the best installation scenario for Arduino and outdoor sensors in general. Now, I'm told by the experts, because as you know, I'm not an environmental engineer, but we have very brilliant ones in the company, as the ideal setting for an outdoor air quality sensor such as Arduino is a few meters on top of a street level, let's say 3 to 5 meters over street level, which doesn't mean that if you put it higher, data are not relevant. It means that some data will have to be, say, reevaluated. But all in all, if you can put it, say, 3 to 5 meters over street level, it's ideal. If not, data will anyway be considered and processed, and we'll work on them. Okay, then it's a tricky question about pixels. Somebody feels that their installation site is exactly on the border between 2 pixels. And we all know that GPS location has some error bar, so GPS data can fluctuate even if you don't move anything. The question is, can this situation affect the rewards? Okay, I'll give you an honest answer. The honest answer is, unfortunately, yes. Because you know that in our system, rewards for type 1 and type 2 sensors are correlated with the installation side by the pixel system. So it might happen that a sensor is allocated to 1 pixel, and then at some point suddenly it seems that it's been moved to another pixel. If you believe you're being adversely affected by this situation, get in touch and we'll find a solution. But I cannot exclude that this could happen. Okay, the last question about Arduino is very interesting. Somebody is asking to get a pink Arduino. Can we make it? Okay, this sounds like a joke, but I'll tell you something. There is, in principle, possibility and scope for some customization of Arduinos. You might have seen pictures where the Arduinos had the 3 colors of the Italian flag, other pictures where it was in all white. So I mean, I have a long list of things which I believe would be nice to do, but in terms of priority, of course, are not very high. But we could, for example, release limited edition Arquinos with some artwork on them, make them collectible. Why not? After all, as you know, each Arquino in our system is already linked to an NFT. So we could do things, we could do special series with special colors. It could be fun. Maybe one day we can do it, but of course, as of today, we are swamped with work and we have other priorities, but why not? Okay, still talking about sensor. I have no updates today, unfortunately, for Type 2 sensors. We are still, on one hand, scanning the market as we always do. On the other hand, working on a project for a new Type 2 device, which, if all goes well, could be able to deliver in the fall, to begin delivering in the fall. But I hope I'll give a better update on Type 2 maybe next week. Moving to Type 3, there has been a lot of discussions, and I have quite a bit of things to say about this, and I think you'll be quite interested. So the recurrent question is, why is this sensor so expensive? And also, given the rewards system spelled out in the white paper for Type 3 sensor, it doesn't look like a great investment because it doesn't mine that much. Okay, first of all, we know we are not an investment scheme, but let's face it, the reward level linked to Type 3 sensors doesn't look very exciting given the prices that we pre-announced for this type of sensor. Okay, here I'm going to make an announcement, but first let me give you an explanation. When the white paper was first written, we had less information than today about the potential value of indoor air quality data. So at that time, we felt it made sense to monitor indoor air quality with consumer-grade devices, some kind of indoor analog of Ariane, if you see what I mean. So the Planet's reward figure that we set in the white paper for Type 3 was reflecting that view about the quality of the data that we will be collecting. Later on, we realized the importance and potential market value of indoor data from reset certified sensors, which is the reason why we onboarded the Kythera system, which was one of these reset certified sensors. So being reset certified, being a high spec, high quality sensor, is obviously more expensive than what you would expect from a consumer grade device, just because it's not a consumer grade device. You could say that it's some sort of indoor analog of Arquino in the sense that it's from the point of view of PlanetWatch, is a premium device. So in some sense, indoor data from a reset device have the same scientific dignity of outdoor data from Arquino. They are premium data. But as I said, the current Type 3 reward level doesn't reflect this view. So what? So I believe we should insist on only onboarding for Type 3 reset compliant devices, which I call premium devices. But then it makes sense to increase the rewards for Type 3. However, as I said several times, we're not going to change the white paper without community support. So the white paper says something, we don't want to change the white paper out of the blue, wouldn't be sensible. So what do? Okay, that's the announcement. PlanetWatch, as you know, has its own planets allocation. So we have planets in our pockets. So I have decided that we will fund out of our own pockets 50% extra rewards for Type 3 sensors, at least until the end of 2021, out of our own pocket. In the meantime, in parallel, this is probably a good occasion to test our governance model. So we want to ask Planet Watchers if they support a change in the white paper, Tokenomics, which would enforce that we've permanently raised the rewards for Type 3 sensors out of the standard rewards budget. So in order to put some numbers and better explain what I'm saying, okay, let me open the white paper. So in the white paper, it says that you as a miner, that's a strange word, but let's use it, you can get in ideal conditions up to 30.8736 planets per day on a Type 3 sensor in perfect conditions. And I said, if the sensor is a reset sensor, we decided it will be, this is not very rewarding. So instead of getting 30 point something sensors, you will be getting a total of 46 roughly. So this figure plus 50%, but the 30 plus 30.87 you get from the 95% reward budget that is described in the white paper. The extra 15, you get them out of our own pockets. We pay for it. Okay, we cannot pay indefinitely for something like that. So I'm saying we will pay for it as long as it's necessary up and until at the most December 31st. Because what I plan to do in the meantime is to propose that those extra 15 will come out of the rewards budget. So it will be a change in the white paper, which will make the Type 3 saturation point lower. But I believe the whole operation, I would recommend voting in favor of this, of course. I believe the whole operation, it will be beneficial to PlanetWatch because it will put additional incentive on producing high quality data, such as the data from reset sensors. So let me summarize what I said, which was maybe not entirely clear, but I'll try again. So the Type 3 rewards will be topped up by PlanetWatch. So you will get the default reward, which is written in the white paper, plus a bonus, if you want, paid by PlanetWatch, up and until at the most the end of December 2021. We hope we'll be able to save some money on this because we will propose to integrate the extra rewards into the global rewards budget described in the white paper. So it will be the rewards budget to pay this if you approve this change, rather than PlanetWatch as a company at some point after approval. But in any case, we'll put the tokens from our pocket on the table until the end of the year, if necessary. Okay, because the price is high, but not just because we want to push you to buy it because the price is high. We want to encourage you to use reset compliant indoor sensors because we believe the data will be valuable. That's the bottom line of it. Okay, Type 4 devices. I said we bought some time ago a lot of 200 Atmo Cubes. So we might be the only people in the world owning Atmo Cubes at the moment, apart from you guys. To be very clear, what's happening at the moment? This lot of Atmo Cubes has been split in 2 lots of 100. Each lot has been sent to Amazon warehouses, one in France and the other in the US, not because we're going to sell on Amazon. We're going to sell from our own websites, but Amazon, for this very project, is a useful logistics partner. So it will be shipped by Amazon, essentially. So when these lots just left, it could take, I think, up to 3 weeks before they're ready to sell. But the process has started. Okay, so hopefully in the meantime, the manufacturer, Atmo Cube themselves, will have their own new lots ready to sell. But I mean, we are working on the lot that we own, but this lot has to be processed in order to be ready to be sold. By the way, I was talking about indoor air quality sensor. We said reset is great for Type 3, it's premium. You know, for outdoors, we have 2 levels of sensing, right? Type 1, Arduino is the premium grade device. Type 2 is a consumer grade device. We had Arianna. Arianna is no longer available. We'll procure something else. But it might make sense to onboard also a consumer grade indoor sensor. But because of what I just said, it will not be Type 3. So I believe it could make sense to onboard a consumer grade indoor sensor within the Type 4 lot. I mean, Type 4 was meant to be not just for wearables, but for special sensors, for sensors which make sense and don't fall into the other categories. So this is not an announcement because we are still doing some tests and checking. But we might onboard another device for Type 4, which I believe would make sense on science grounds and also helps fulfill your demand for low-cost devices, let's face it. while making something sensible. Okay, so there was one question about blockchain. How is PlanetWatch using blockchain other than by giving rewards? Good question. So let me remind you what we do on the Algorand blockchain. We write transactions which contains in encrypted form strings of air quality data, the air quality values from your sensors. So by doing this, we are building over time a public, tamper-proof global ledger, and all the contributions are tracked, which is essential for issuing the rewards. Of course, you have to know which sensor you are rewarding. So that's how we are using the blockchain at the moment. Now, there are a number of future applications, I believe, of blockchain-based air quality records that we are discussing with some corporate partners. Again, this is very early, but it's not blue sky. I mean, we have some feedbacks on this. So, a couple of examples. Air quality records on a blockchain could help prove compliance with indoor air quality standards in the framework of what? Service level agreements, for example, an airport claiming that air quality is safe within the airport and giving us access to the records written on blockchain, so people can check in real time that air quality in the airport where they are moving is good, and of course it's written on the blockchain, cannot be changed afterwards. It's guaranteed by PlanetWatch in some sense. Another interesting area is insurance contract. For example, if you are operating an office with an open office space where lots of people are working in the same venue, you are liable, at least in Italy as an employer and in France, for the safety of the workers in that space. So you have to get insurance contracts. And it might be at some point possible that a reduced insurance premium will be offered to venue operators who can prove they correctly manage air quality in their venue. Because, as you know, indoor air quality in some cases can be a proxy for infection risks. So if you manage it correctly, it's a safer environment, so your insurer might be happy, might give you a discount. So that's the future. It's not today, but it's a future which is not too far, in my opinion. Okay, then there are some questions about PlanetWatch as a corporation, corporate policies, the token. There is one question which is very sensible, and I have to. We should have perhaps discussed this already in the white paper, but okay, we'll fix it now. Somebody's saying, we love what you're doing. We would like to get some extra transparency on PlanetWatch 250 million pre-mine. Are you free to dump the tokens, etc., etc.? How do we get confidence that you don't just sell the tokens and run away? Thank you. Okay, fair enough. Very direct, but very, very fair question. So let's go back to the basics. As you know, in the white paper, we have fixed the maximum total planet supply at 4.5 billion planets. This is different from the circulating supply because most of these 4.5 billion are allocated to, 95% of them are allocated to rewards for data streams. And there is a huge amount, the largest part of these rewards, these tokens are allocated for the future. We are really at the beginning of this project. At the same time, as it was discussed in the white paper, 5% of the 4.5 billion, which is 225 million tokens, were allocated to PlanetWatch as a company. So they are in our pocket as a company. So here is where we need to disclose some additional details. Out of these 225 million tokens, 100 million planets are allocated to company founders. And that includes myself, let's face it. However, these tokens are not in our pockets yet, because there is a vesting schedule, which is the following. Tokens for founders will be released according to a schedule based on 18 equal monthly installments starting from December 2021. So myself and other founders will get chunks of Planet tokens starting from December over an 18 months period. So at the very least, we cannot run away now, but the whole idea is that you trust us enough not to be here to make a quick buck, because there would have been better ways to do it. But okay, sorry. Let's go back to serious. So that's the vesting schedule for founders. Okay, and that's about 100 million tokens. Regarding the remaining 125 million tokens, so a fraction of them have been allocated to a wide range of important partners, both corporates and some individuals, some advisors, for example, who are supporting strongly our activities. So some of the 125 million are liquid, are circulating. Still, most of that part of the bag was still under our direct control and will be used by us for a number of activities, mostly marketing. But as you see, we're putting some of these planets on the table to boost and to speed up adoption of reset devices, because we believe it's instrumental to the growth of the project. That's one example of how we use the tokens that we own. So, to be honest, I don't think it's appropriate at this stage, at least, to disclose further details. But I think you should bear in mind that several million of planets which are not under our control are already circulating. And if you follow Bitfinex a little bit, you might come to the conclusion that nobody has really dumped big amounts of planets so far. People who own them could do that. It's beyond my power, but it hasn't happened. And in fact, as you know, I'm not going to get involved in speculation about the future token price. I can just give you a fact. Some people who already own planets, some planets holders, have been talking to me and comparing planets price evolution in the last few weeks to the overall market behavior in the last 4 to 6 weeks. They just told me that they were not unhappy. So I leave you, I'll let you speculate on this. But some people have quite a bit of planets around, but they seem to be happy for the time being, they seem to be happy with what they have. Nobody knows what the future will tell. Cryptos are volatile, and anything can happen. I'm just sticking to the facts, and the facts are what I told you. Okay, another corporate question. Why was the PlanetWatch company registered in France when the team is almost entirely Italian? Just curious if there was any economic incentive. That's what the person asked. So, to be honest, there are both personal and corporate reasons. At a personal level, I've lived 15 years of my life in France, and that's a fact. And in fact, several years before creating PlanetWatch, I had founded another high-tech startup in France. And through that activity, I came to learn and appreciate the very strong innovation support system from the French government. I must say, as far as innovation support is concerned, kudos to the French government. Simple as that. France really helps a lot tech companies for a number of reasons. You might not like the reasons, maybe, but the fact is they are very helpful and very supportive. And that's one thing which is relevant. Also, we are based in France for another reason. First of all, we are less than 1 mile from Switzerland. I mean, I could throw a stone to Switzerland from our premises. And in particular, we're very close to the CERN site, which is across France and Switzerland. So our location is very, very close to one of our strongest partners, which makes sense because in some cases, and hopefully more often in the future, we will have physical meetings and collaboration meetings on some aspects. And well, last but not least, we're actually located in a CERN-backed incubator in France. So we are being supported in many ways by CERN. And CERN is in Switzerland, but it's also in France. It's on the border, actually. Finally, again, clearly, many of us are Italian, but not all of us. We have, you might not know that, but we have partners and collaborators from many countries, including the USA, Slovenia, Japan, and many other countries. So there are absolutely no nationality requirement to work with us, rather the opposite. We're trying to build as cosmopolitan a team as possible. Okay, then it's a number of questions about other companies. Some of them I don't even know them. Match XM2 miner or Helium network. So the question is about whether we are considering collaborating with other players in the IoT ecosystem. There is a mention of a company called Early, which is a sensor manufacturer. And questions about whether we're going to cooperate, whether we see competition, and again, these things. I'll give you a very basic answer, which is the same I gave last week. I always welcome synergies as long as people play by our rules. It's very, very simple and very blunt. You know already about the partnership with Emirates, and the partnership is getting along well. Everybody plays fair, obviously. And if you think about it, via Emirates, we are de facto leveraging synergies already with the Helium network community. So at the community level, makes a lot of sense to leverage this kind of synergies. If somebody is interested to support the deployment of some sort of IoT citizen network, there are obviously synergies that we can explore. But what matters to me is that nobody can boss us, can bend our rules. I mean, we always have great projects that we just play it fair and we cooperate when it makes sense to. Okay, that's the next question is kind of difficult. The government of France has proposed that the European Securities and Market Authority should regulate digital currency activities across the European Union. There is a reference article which was published on Cointelegraph. And the question is whether this will have any impact on our business and in which way. Now, not only I'm not an environmental engineer, I'm not a lawyer either. However, we are advised by a very good Paris-based law firm with a lot of experience on crypto regulation. So we haven't discussed this specific item with them yet, but just be sure that we'll get ready for any regulatory changes if the need arises. As I said last time as well, we are trying to play it very safe on the compliance side, on the regulation side, and we refrain from some things that the crypto people tend to like, burning and doing lots of things with the token. We've been very conservative on this because we think compliance is very important, and you don't want to spoil the success of a great project because of some compliance stuff. So we keep an eye on compliance all the time, and we have expert advisors on that. Okay, so there was an very nice question, I would say. Whether we will be open to the idea of crowdfunding so that our user base has a chance to invest in PlanetWatch financially. I mean, becoming a shareholder alongside the corporation. Now, I must say, I do like the idea that some Planet Watchers may want to become a shareholder of PlanetWatch. I really like the idea. What I feel is that it's quite difficult to crowdfund globally. So I wouldn't want to do a crowdfunding exercise where only French people or European people or US people can apply. That wouldn't be nice to me. So as far as I understand, talking about compliance, it's not easy to give a chance to people worldwide to become shareholder of a company because there are so many regulations around. So ideally, it would be cool. I'm not sure if it's feasible in a fair, nice way, a simple way. Maybe one approach could be related to issuing a security token, but again, compliance is very complicated as far as I can see. So, good question. We'll think about it. That's the honest answer. Okay, and then again, other very interesting questions. So I mentioned jokingly last time measuring noise because there was some sudden noise out of my window. So people are asking whether we're going to get into light, erosion, wind, soil nutrient, weather, noise, pollution measurement, or other kind of environmental measurements. And as I said, the answer is yes. If you ask me when, and some people, that person was arguing that we should not slow down on this. Now, let me remind you that I don't think we are by any measure a slow company. We were founded in January 2020. After 4 months, we had a minimum viable product. After 8 months, we went live on the Algorand mainnet. So today, we are just essentially 18 and a half months down the line from foundation. We have over 2,000 sensors worldwide, spread across 4 types. We have already posted 67 million transactions on Algorand. So we are trying to go very fast, and we are not slow, I believe. But again, having said that, I want to tell you in some detail why we cannot go very fast to onboard new sensors or new use cases. Let me tell you, if we talk about air quality first, air quality monitoring, which is what we are doing at the moment, I'll tell you all the steps in the process before we sell you something. So first of all, we established that there is a serious scientific as well as business case for hyperlocal air quality data. Otherwise, we would not have engaged at all. So once we establish this, we review sensors on the market. We shortlist some, contact suppliers, get evaluation kits. If the evaluation kits are good, then we start negotiating financial terms. We decide whether we sell them or we don't sell them, and we just recommend them to Planet Watchers. If we decide that it's best if we sell, then we have to set up logistics. And in any case, we have to build the software interface to stream data from that sensor to PlanetWatch, because they were not meant to go through PlanetWatch, obviously. At the end of all this process, then we are ready to sell or to advertise and recommend the sensor. For example, Kythera, we featured Kythera last time. We discussed onboarding of Kythera. We are currently in the software building stage. We are building the interface to get Kythera data to PlanetWatch and make them qualify for rewards. So we're not finished yet. Why don't you guys go faster? So let me tell you because we are doing lots of stuff and we are still a startup. For example, next week we release the new map. I gave you a sneak preview last time, I believe. And on the new map, you'll be able to see all outdoor sensors all sensors, in fact, including Type 4, for example. That will be released next week. The new app, which hopefully will fix a number of bugs, will be released around the end of July. We are also trying to work on some Atmo Cube issues. We are working on improvement. So there is a lot of technical work going on. So building the interface for Kythera is part of this roadmap, and we cannot do 10 things at the same time, unfortunately. So anyway, you asked when are going to introduce noise measuring and water measuring, all that. So the thing is, we'll follow the same step that I described for air, step by step. So establish the business and science case, review the market, test, talk to manufacturers, and onboard. So this might sound a bit slow and bureaucratic. If you ask me, it's just professional. So this is not an amateur get-rich-quick project. Stakes are high, and we want to get it right. Okay, so there were some questions related to the PlanetWatch outdoor map. How often are your tiers updated? Somebody lives in a suburb which has high population density, but the map shows tier 2. Now, the tier structure, as you know, was based on reputable third-party information. Population map, of course, can become obsolete over time. However, I don't think it would be reasonable to review the map too often. So I think we'll consider a review maybe next year, not earlier than that, because it would be difficult to get it right again, and we don't want to get it wrong. There was a funny question, but the guy is right. Somebody noticed that the preview of the new map showed sensors in red as red spots, which is not great. Makes you think of COVID maps. Somebody argued that, and I think it's the first suggestion to change the color, and it's a surprise, but it will no longer be red. It will be prettier colors. Then there are questions about some app issues. The current app is not perfect. We know that. So I would say let's just see how many issues are solved by the new app release, and we'll keep improving. Okay, then there are questions on financial questions in terms of DeFi, exchanges, and staking and all these things. So I can tell you something that will not come as a big surprise. We are talking to Algorand DeFi ecosystem players. We are talking to them. we are currently thinking about what makes the most sense for PlanetWatch. Because again, some things we could do are very cool, but lawyers don't think they're very cool, if you see what I mean. So we're going to be a bit careful, but we're going to do something cool. But the key point is that we're working, as I said, on a strategy to make planets available worldwide. And I hope here to be able to disclose something soon. I have an important call 50 minutes from now. So we are really working on it every day. Somebody asked whether you can get API access to data from your own sensor. And again, it's a fair question. There are two reasons why you don't have it at the moment. One is, again, every development takes a lot of time. And the second is more substantial. I mean, we'll consider this for research certified sensors. But as I discussed many times, we are using, in most cases, consumer-grade devices where the actual number, the actual value measured, cannot be directly compared to a professional measurement. Having said that, these data are relevant when you aggregate them. So not a single number from a single sensor, but a clever aggregation. And the other reason why they are relevant is that you can spot trends through them. So what I'm trying to say is that downloading the actual numbers one after the other doesn't actually add a lot of useful information. So this is one of the reasons why we're not allowing this, which might be a bit frustrating. So we'll keep thinking about this, and we'll see whether we can add additional tools which let you download something relevant. But what is already relevant and very important, in my opinion, is that through Atmo Cubes, for example, people have learned to connect their lifestyle to pollution exposure. So people have learned that if they cook, especially if they fry something, the Atmo Cube air quality index goes red, goes very bad, and that's very important to know. If you smoke, well, it's even worse, obviously. So that's already very useful information, very relevant information on an individual level. The actual the actual numbers, the actual figures of an individual sensor like that are not always relevant, but we'll talk again about this. Okay, then there is the nicest question of all. Somebody said, we always ask you how you can support us, but we seldom ask how we can support you and the project. And that's very nice. That's a very nice observation. Somebody even offered to host me or other PlanetWatch people into their apartments if we have to go for some trips, and that's very, 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 very kind. Again, thank you. It's very good and very important to know that you really want to support the project in a strong way. And there are certainly a number of things that PlanetWatchers could do to help us. The first thing that comes to mind is to help us promote PlanetWatch across your community. You can be an influencer for your community. You can explain to people the relevance of PlanetWatch. If you are a business person, you can promote us across your business network. And opportunities can arise. Absolutely. In particular, I would say we feel we need and we want to become more visible in Asia. So if somebody has connections to relevant business partners and even influencers, I would say, we'll look into all your suggestions, we'll review, and maybe you can help us. We are also going to help ourselves, obviously. So we have a marketing budget that we'll invest into increasing our visibility, but community help is always welcome. Somebody mentioned the Friday for Future movement, and I believe it could certainly be a potential partner for us. So yes, we are open to talk to anybody, as I said. So thank you, and speak to us if you have suggestions. Well, somebody asked again whether we can discriminate a highly toxic environment from a not very harmful one with current sensors, and again, quoting Atmo Cube. As I said, Atmo Cubes are interesting, especially when we look at aggregate data, are very useful, are a great tool to raise awareness of lifestyle versus pollution, It is not a tool. It's not a device meant to identify a toxic environment. So don't let's not push it too far, because I mean, when you do a scientific project, you have to be rigorous and you have to know what you can measure and what you cannot measure. So let's keep it where it is. Yeah, there were other questions related to the Kaitera device and such, meaning whether the manufacturer says it's smart home enabled. Will this feature be available under PlanetWatch? So again, we are not, generally speaking, we don't remove features which are in the sensor. However, the details of how we will interact with sensors is something we're working on. We're still working on interfaces, as I said. So I cannot disclose more details now, but I mean, rest assured that if we onboard the sensor, it means that it will earn tokens by sending relevant information, and the details could differ from time to time. There was a question about owning several type 4 sensors in the same building in different apartments, whether that's okay or not. Of course, that's okay. No problem. And okay, there's a question about the exact management of waiting lists for type 1 and type 3 versus the order of license purchase. As I said, to be honest with you, initially we didn't plan to sell sensors. As I said, we would rather let you buy sensors from third parties. However, we decided to sell sensors when it makes it easier for you and cheaper. So be patient, be a little bit patient. We are setting up a better queuing management system, so license counters which tell you at which position you are in the queue, but this is not ready. But we will do it. Okay, then the next question, there is a little misunderstanding I want to clarify. Somebody said that I mentioned carbon credits being a potential revenue source. No. Carbon credits I did mention, but not as a revenue source for PlanetWatch, as an item which could be funded with planets, and again, we're working on it. So to be clear, we don't plan to make any commercial profit on carbon credits. We see carbon credits fit in our world because carbon credits are a way to fund, as you know, sustainable projects. So in some cases, we might even pay ourselves for carbon credits or offer you to buy carbon credits with your planets, but it's not, to us, it's not a profit-making item. It's a use case for planets, if you want. We don't want to make money on this. Okay, the very last question, maybe it's the most difficult one. Somebody seems to be quite interested in learning about my personal life, which to me is a huge surprise, to be honest. Questions about how many dogs do I own and how many wives do I have? Not sure I have the updated figure now for the wives, but okay, I prefer cats for one thing, assuming that you care, and I have a fairly normal couple's life, I would say. So thanks for asking, but even I have some privacy to safeguard. So I guess I'm a fairly normal guy all in all, so fairly boring maybe. So that's all. Okay, so thank you for being here. Thank you for following this. I suspect I haven't answered 100% of questions, but keep asking. Incidentally, you can ask me, you can ask the mods. So the mods are a wild bunch of great people. They're doing a great work. Some of the questions I received, I didn't quite like them because some people were kind of complaining about some arguments with the mods. As I said, the mods, I believe they are terrific people, not only very competent, but also very reasonable people. So if they warn you or even if they ban you for bad behavior, I tend to think they did the right choice. So I would encourage you not to ask through the AMA questions to revert decisions about this kind of mods activities, because chances is very low that I could consider that. So let me just remind you for 1 second, playing the schoolmaster again, which is not nice, but I think it makes sense. I really, I really care about this. To me, being a planet watcher is not just about collecting tokens. It's first of all about respecting the environment, all creatures, humans and animals, and PlanetWatch rules. Certainly not trying to circumvent them. There was some talk about circumventing the rules, and the mods very rightfully reprimanded the person. So if you don't stick to the rules, you may be banned after being warned, because we are all humans, everybody can make a mistake. So let's keep it nice, let's keep it fair, and let's all be reasonable, okay? And most of all, keep watching the planet, please. Bye bye. See you soon.